I'm Johnny Lieberman, and you're watching LNP. What does LNP stand for?
Late Night Play
Oh,
Set.
yeah, that's right. I've been on there. It's a good show. You should like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
I redid everything. Yeah, so we did it. It's up there now. You know, you can watch it live if you want. We're over here. We'll be on in 1 minute.
Old dial-up. But I want to watch with my friends. So.
Kevin, you gonna buy a beamer? Okay, we did it. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jay Ryan, and this is the Late Night Play Set. It's Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, and I'm here with my buddy Magnus Walker. It's great to see you, man. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about all the stuff tonight. I was at Leno's Garage today. I know you've got a ton of stuff going on.
Happy New Year.
Get right into it. It's been a long time.
Happy New Year. Like
Happy New Year.
4 weeks in.
It's still January, so...
When's the cutoff? February 1st. Why not?
I feel like...
I kind of feel like...
January 8th for me is...
The first time you talk to someone is the cutoff.
Yeah.
What would Larry David say? You know, when's the cutoff on the LD? You know, on Curb. You know, when would the cutoff?
I think he'd shut it down. I mean, there might even be an episode about that. I think he'd shut it down.
Shut it down straight away.
But
Lucky
I haven't seen you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Been a minute. Yeah.
I saw you when I first got back from the road trip. I saw you a couple times because we did the My Porsche story and the PEC stuff.
Yeah,
but I feel like with Good Vibes shut out of the mountain and the fires and everything, it's been at least a month, right?
I mean, to me, it seems like the whole of California, America sort of went on this long holiday, which started at Thanksgiving. You know, I'd be emailing people, they'd be like, I'll get back to you after Thanksgiving, and then that stretched out into after Christmas, and then, you know, it was a new administration thing, we got to wait for that, and then, you know, the apocalyptic LA fires 3 weeks ago, right? 3 weeks ago today.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That is what it is. It's like the goal line kept getting moved.
Yeah,
kept getting further and further.
Like,
so it's Happy Thanksgiving then.
Yeah, you know, initially it was like January 5th. Come on, guys, let's get back to work. And then what was it, January 7th? All of a sudden, things changed.
You fared okay, I hope.
Yeah, we were one. Yeah, we did. I mean,
but there was some Hollywood fires too.
Yeah. 3 weeks ago, we'd gone on. You know, like the shit hit the fan on the Tuesday, right? 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wednesday, you know, we went on a little drive over Mulholland to see what we could see, and then we took a walk, and then we were on the couch at 5, and then we got a random text. Hollywood Hills fire, are you guys okay? We're like, Hollywood Hills fire, Runyon Canyon, which in a straight line from our house is probably 3/4 of a mile. And then over the next 4 hours, all we heard were these helicopters buzzing over the house, shaking the house, because we're like we're like in a straight line 200 yards from the Hollywood Reservoir. So the helicopters would buzz over the house, and we've got this old house, 100 years old, and it rattles, and they drop into the resi, pick up water, and then do the 3/4 mile joint to Runyon and drop it. And I think that's how they got the Runyon Canyon fire under control very quickly. But for that 3-4 hour period, we had bags packed in the car ready to go.
Wow.
We had our evacuation escape plan to go downtown. And that was a crazy, crazy night. And then the next couple of days felt weirdly like COVID, where, all your local coffee shops were closed. And downtown, which wasn't in the fire zone, but got all the wind blowing, all the Altadena fire downtown. It was raining ash downtown for a week or two.
Wow.
And weirdly, on that Wednesday, I was shipping 2 cars to Miami for the DRT. And I'm like, is this a smart thing? Like, I'm going to Miami sort of in the middle of this chaos, which ironically was a week later. But yeah, we were okay. We were okay. I mean, a lot of people weren't okay, but it was kind of a harrowing couple of days for sure.
Yeah.
And then just sort of been a strange couple of weeks since. But, life goes on.
You're right about the COVID feeling, though. It felt like everything just sort of shut down, and you were supposed to kind of just stay in your houses while everybody dealt with everything out there.
Yeah.
That's what the news was telling you. Stay home. Don't go to work. Don't go out on the roads.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because of the air, too. So
Yeah,
even
the air
that
was bad.
Right. And then I got a bunch of buddies that had to escape LA because of the air quality, and they went to Palm Springs. And then when they got there, it was like half of LA had gone to Palm Springs.
Not far enough.
Yeah, it was kind of like, when we'd go out to Joshua Tree during COVID, and then like all of the hip LA crowd was out in Joshua Tree, trying to shoehorn the way into Pappy and Harriet's. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, we didn't go anywhere. I mean, I went downtown every day, checked on the cars in the warehouse. That was about it, trying to sort of tune out a lot of the chaos, really.
I'm sure you're like us, though. You must know a lot of people who lost.
Yeah, we know people that lost in both Altadena and the Palisades.
Yeah, same here.
But it's just kind of crazy to see it.
I'm blown away by it. My dad was a firefighter. I've never seen anything like that. He's a volunteer firefighter. I've never seen anything like this. It's
Shouldn't he have a mustache if he's a volunteer firefighter?
Yeah.
little
It's building. It's building.
a little backstory too is we have you guys know I did this little show in high school, right? You remember all of this stuff? This is me at the Wilton High School doing my little show. So a fellow graduate from the same program happens to be auditing the show today in here, Corey Sabia.
What does that mean, auditing the show?
Well, he's just watching, seeing what we do.
So he's not with the IRS?
No, I shouldn't say. I'm using that like a court term, like if you just sit in to what, or
like a court order?
You never went to college. I didn't either.
No,
but if you sit in on a class,
Yeah.
they call it auditing.
I don't even know what that means. It just makes you think IRS audit.
He's just the creep in the corner.
Yeah.
It's exactly right.
So you're a volunteer fireman?
Yeah, in New York.
Okay. Oh, New York. I'm off to New York on Tuesday, actually.
Nice.
What are you doing in New York?
Having fun, walking around, getting
Really?
inspired. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
We're in New York before Christmas, and we're back again on Tuesday.
Is Hannah going? Is that the week?
Hannah's going.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, we're going to be in New York. Hannah's brother became a fireman, Abe. So he's up in Washington State, north of Seattle. And the funny thing is, he didn't have a mustache before he became a fireman.
Come on.
But now he's got a. He sort of had a beard, and they made him trim the beard back. I guess you can't have a beard being a
Yeah.
fireman,
Can't have anything down here.
but you can have a mustache, right?
Yeah.
So of course now he's going to be in the fireman's calendar, of course.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of stereotypical. Became a fireman, grew a mustache.
You got to give him like a little kitten or something. Kittens
Yeah.
and firemen,
Yeah.
the thing.
Rescuing cats out of trees.
My girlfriend keeps asking when I'm going to be on the calendar. And
That's
I
because you
know,
don't have a
in New York,
mustache.
It's a little different.
That's right. You got to get the
You got to
mustache.
get a mustache.
That's what you're
Are
waiting.
you
You're
in New
missing.
York City or are you in
No,
one of the
I'm
boroughs?
outside New York in Portchester,
Okay.
on the Connecticut border.
Okay, okay.
Right where we both grew up, just over
All
the
right.
border. Yeah.
How long are you out here for?
Just for the week.
Okay.
Randomly came out for work, got a call on Friday, and booked flights on Saturday, and texted
Exciting.
that dude, and here we are.
Wow.
I said, well, if you're in town, we
Yeah.
met in our high school television studio. I said, come on, check out what we're doing here in our dining room.
Yeah, same but different in the dining room.
Come sit in my dining room and watch people.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, the fires have been crazy. And then the rains. So it felt like the James Taylor song. I've seen fire and I've seen rain.
It should have rained before the wind, and then maybe there wouldn't have been the fire, right? I mean, everyone was
Do we
sort
get
of
to
praying
choose?
for rain, and then the wind would wash out all the crappy air, and then the mudslides will come, of course.
Which is happening.
Yeah.
That happened, yeah. It does feel like every disaster movie that I grew up watching.
Yeah,
The
it's
Day
like
After Tomorrow and
Escape
everything
from
else.
LA.
Yeah. And somebody started a rumor that the Hollywood sign was burning because there was a Hollywood Hills fire and there was a
Yeah.
Studio City fire and
I
everything.
think that was AI.
AI, yeah.
Like, for the Hollywood sign it's not actually lit up.
Correct.
So when it's spotlit, there's something going on there.
Oh, was it? I didn't even see you
I
filmed.
think on that photo it was lit up because I was texting a buddy who lives up the road from me, everything okay, and he was in Australia, and then he texted me back, hey, getting all alarmed that it's at the Hollywood, the Hollywood sign's on fire. I go, nah, I'm looking at it, it's not on fire. So yeah, there was all types of.
Can you
strange
see it
things.
from your place?
No, but we kind of, if we walk around and walk up a little bit, we can.
How is your house?
It's great.
I mean, you're
it's really
full-time
cold.
living there, right?
Yeah, full-time living there. It's cold. We woke up this morning, it was 56 degrees inside the house.
Oh, boy.
we have heat, but we don't sleep with the heat on. So it was 56 degrees inside, and it was like 46 outside.
It's brisk. It's brisk.
It's one of those old houses where there's no insulation, the windows aren't airtight,
No.
there's gaps and drafts, and nothing's square, plumb, or level. But it's cozy, So
I love it. I love
and it's
the
10
house.
minutes from here, from the studio.
Yeah.
So
A little
here I
better.
am. Yeah.
I loved it when you moved in and it was empty, but what the magnification of the whole thing really
Yeah.
has brought the place alive.
I mean, it's coming alive. It's a work in progress. Last year's project, there's a lot of big projects which have sort of been backburnered because they're expensive, and finding someone that is willing to do it is even more frustrating. But last year's project was that sort of middle deck. We just rattle canned it checkerboard.
Oh,
It looks great. It's black and white check.
you rattle can that?
Yeah, we did.
It looks fantastic. I love it.
That's rattle can, and the way we did it is because the 1x6, 2x6 is all sort of uneven. We didn't want to mask it off, so we literally went to Home Depot and we bought 48 of those cheap vinyl square tiles, which cost nothing, like 99 cents a piece. And we just laid them down as a template, sprayed the negative space in between them, and then moved them over. So, none of the edges are sharp or crisp, which is great because it looks like it's been there 100 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that checkerboard is just rattle canned.
That
So
is
that's going to buy us another year before we actually dive into doing the deck.
Very
So,
clever.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Anyway, yeah, house is good. Life is good in the hills, and I'm still going downtown every day, so
Yeah.
still out walking Willow, getting my steps in.
You still have the same garage, right?
Yeah, still got the same garage. Still
Were you thinking about switching?
Yeah, I'm still thinking about switching.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
I thought I
there's
saw a real estate listing where
Yeah,
it was
there
listed.
is. There is.
Okay.
There is a listing. I mean,
Okay. It's just feelers, maybe? Don't let me put words in your mouth.
No, I mean, it's for sale. I'm just waiting for someone to offer me all the money in the world.
There
If
you
they
go.
don't offer me all the money in the world, I'm staying.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you got to pull off a Band-Aid, and it feels like I'm at that point. I've been there 25 years. I'm not using all of the space. I'm probably only using a quarter of it. I don't want to split it up. I'm already looking. I've been looking for years for other spaces within a 20-mile radius of where that is. I've got so much there, stuff, emotional baggage, personal stuff, cars, and, a lot of my history and memories are in that building. So it's not going to be an easy thing to leave. And some days I'm like, what, I gotta start afresh somewhere else, still in LA.
You're right.
And other days I'm like, I don't know if I can leave it. It's just cool. The building's cool. There's half a dozen great coffee shops within walkable distance. One of my favorite art galleries, House Room Worth's there. There's great restaurants. I've been downtown for 32 years. So for me to move from that space, and I've been in that building for 25 years, I have to find something that's even cooler than that space. That building's now almost 125 years old. And the building itself is not necessarily unique, but I kind of made it unique in all my soul and characters in it. So to sort of move from there, I'm not going to a concrete tilt-up. I got to go to something that's actually cooler than that
Absolutely.
space. So I'm trying to find an old foundry or an old power station or an old church or machine shop or school. And I found a few awesome buildings that I'm really excited about. Some are way too big, so, part of me is like, I got to downsize, which then opens up the problem of what I would do with the cars.
Right.
Do I keep that stuff? So it's not like a straightforward black and white thing. There's a lot of things in play which will sort of determine where I go and how I go, and do I take all that baggage with me, or do I have a yard sale, so to speak, and, get rid of stuff.
It just used to feel so private, and now there's that super tower behind it, which just looking down into your car park.
It's weird, that super tower, which I call the Death Star.
Okay.
Whenever I fly into LA, and a week ago I flew back from Miami, I did my buddy Al's event down there, DRT.
Love DRT. Shout out to those
guys.
guys.
Such a cool event. I had two 777 in the 305 for the first time, and the 964. So it was great to have those cars there, and that event's great. And
yeah.
Miami's so colorful, and Al's such a character, and he knows everyone. Anyway.
They must love you down there too, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's
There's
so
got a big car
warm.
culture in Florida.
Yeah, especially in Miami, it's the gateway to Latin America. There's a lot of people there from South America and Cuba and Mexico and Colombia, and just a whole lot of flavor, a whole lot of character. No one's uptight. It's kind of a different scene here. Here's more hipsters. There it's like they're not quite as hip, but they're in a way cooler.
Yeah.
Seem more genuine.
And they love customizing down there too.
Yeah,
I guess
they
there's
do.
something about Florida where it's legal to do pretty much anything
You can do
you
whatever
want
you
to
want
your
in
car.
Florida.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We were invited when I was on the road trip. We were invited to do one of them down there with the Paradise Region group, whatever, a huge Florida car show too. And I was fascinated by how much had been done. How do you get away with all this stuff? And they said, nobody. What do you mean? Nobody cares. Nobody checks. There's no
Not
no
there.
laws or rules. You can modify anything.
A lot of it's under the radar. It's not so much like, people flexing on the gram as to what they've got and look at my collection and stuff like that. It's a little bit more, from a social media point of view, under the radar. But once you're there, it's very flamboyant, very colorful, a lot of flavor. I love it. I mean, they got really lucky. I was there 5 days. It rained 2 out of the 5 days, but it didn't rain on the event weekend.
Great.
It rained on the Friday and it rained on the Monday. But Saturday, Sunday was dry. But anyway, the point to my rambling is you're talking about the big building. I love flying into LA, and I flew back into LA, and you can see that Death Star from the plane.
Ah.
I'd always pick out downtown. I'm slightly to the east. I'd pick out the river. I'd find the bridges, and I'd go, okay, I can almost see my building. Now I can see that building
Follow it to the
pretty
bottom.
clearly
Yeah.
from the plane flying into LA.
I mean, it's right behind the It's Always Sunny building, right?
Yeah. It's literally
So it's
like,
literally a block away.
not even a block away. It's like the alley between Always Sunny in Philadelphia and the Death Star. It's 20 feet wide. That's where it is. So, my favorite coffee shop, or one of my favorite coffee shops right there, is next to it. My other favorite coffee shop's down on Hollywood and Cahuenga. That's Intelligentsia. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Intelligentsia is great.
That was a great addition to that corner. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what. When that came in, I was very happy.
Those guys are super duper friendly, the baristas there. Like, really, really cool. So, anyway, that's sort of one thing that's up in the air in plays is, am I moving to an old power station or an old foundry, or am I staying downtown?
I could totally see you in any of those, or the church. The old church sounds great to me
Time
too.
will tell,
I think
yeah.
of the Muppets. Didn't they live in an
Yeah.
old church?
Yep.
The mayhem, the electric mayhem. Speaking of your spot down there, another thing I missed while I was on the road was the super cool reveal for the TWR. Can we?
Yeah.
That's all public knowledge. We can talk about that.
Yeah, that seemed like a long time ago now. It's like
It's new to. Sorry, it's new to me.
November 19th, it was the same. Ironically, we got lucky because it was the same day Jaguar, sort of announced whatever it is they're doing with their new futuristic electric car design.
I assume that was intentional. That they were kind of.
No, Jag didn't call us up and go, hey, can you guys do your TWR Supercat launch on the same day? Because, it'll create a whole buzz and everyone will go, this is the Jag should be making.
As a marketing move, it couldn't. Nicole could not have designed that better.
Oh, yeah,
The official company puts out something that seems to be universally disliked, and
Yeah.
then these guys put out something that everyone loves.
Universally loved.
Same day.
Yeah, timing. Sometimes you can script it, sometimes you can't. Because that car, the TWR Supercat, which is, the V12, 660 horsepower, 6-speed manual, hot rod resto mod XJS, we were supposed to have debuted that during Monterey Car Week at the Quail in August.
Oh,
Wow.
So, I've been a design consultant on that project for 2 years. And, it took a long time to get to the start line. As I said, we should have debuted it at Monterey Car Week.
did they build it abroad or did they build the car here?
It's built in the UK. So basically they're making 88 of them.
Okay.
And that was the global debut of the car at MySpace in downtown LA, November 19th. We debuted that on the Tuesday, and then we took it to Las Vegas for F1, showed it at the Wing Concours, and had it on display at the hotel during F1.
Oh,
Nice.
badass.
Then it was driven back from Vegas on the Sunday and went right into LA Auto Show right after Thanksgiving, where it closed out the final weekend of the LA Auto Show after Thanksgiving, so whatever dates that was, like the 29th, 30th, 31st. Then we took it to New York, went on a whole tour.
Wow,
So
how
we
was
did
that?
an East Coast debut at the Classic Car Club, Manhattan, December 8th in New
wow.
York. So those events, like, we'd released a car about 8-9 months ago, renderings of it, but this was the first time the press and potential interested clients, buyers, consumers had seen the car in the carbon. So it's a full-on carbon, wide-bodied, updated XJS, sort of like a DTM IMSA touring car. And TWR, for those that don't know, Tom Walton and Shaw was a British motorsports engineering firm that raced in the 80s and 90s, but famously they were JAG's racing division, and they won Le Mans, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, outright in 1988. Tom Wilkinson Shaw was the founder of the company, was a racer, won the British Touring Car Championship.
Were they in a Jag?
Yeah, all in JAGs,
Oh, wow.
XJS. Raced at Bathurst, 12 hours in Australia. But they're sort of big, I'm not even going to call it a claim to fame, because they'd achieved a lot of success in the 80s and 90s in motorsport. So Tom was an accomplished race car driver. Like I say, they ran JAG's official motorsports division, and they sort of modified a lot of JAG XJSs, but they also worked on Volvos and Renaults and various other things. But the other thing that is great about TWR is they helped develop the iconic JAG XJ220, the XJR and the XJ15.
I just saw one of those the other day.
So-
Marconi.
Yeah,
That's
so
a hell of a car.
That car really cemented and solidified the TWR sort of heritage of being a actual motorsports company.
But
As
even that
opposed-
was 30 years ago, wasn't it? The XJ220?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Tom passed away in the early 2000s, and then his son Fergus is sort of rebooting the company. So my involvement, ironically, I've always been a Jag guy. I've owned E-Types and XJs, and when Ian Callum was Jag's designer, I'd spoken to Ian Callum and Jag Classic in England about doing my own version of a hot rod XJS. The XJS is the car that followed on from the iconic E-Type Jag, which was in production from 1961 to 1975.
I love the XJS. It's still one of the best looking Jags ever to me with those buttresses. I
Yeah,
love it.
so
I love
that
it.
car followed the iconic E-Type, and of course could never live up to the E-Type's sort of charm and stigma, even though it was in production longer, and Jag actually sold more XJSs, ironically. But it was sort of plagued with sort of being underpowered and, of course, unreliability. But it was in production from 75 through 96, 21-year run. And so no one's really messed with the XJS. There's a lot of, obviously, retro mod, hot rod, whatever you want to call them, Porsches, and then people doing Alphas and Lanciers and all types of, sport import tuner cars. But no one had ever messed with the Jag. And out of the blue, a little over 2 years ago, I got a phone call, email actually, from a former Porsche PR marketing guy called Lee Newton, who was consulting with TWR, and said, hey, would I be interested in it? And I say, hey, you must be a mind reader. He goes, what do you mean? I actually wanted to do my own version of this project 5 years before, where it almost happened with Jag. I go, yeah, I'm all in. So I was brought on as a design consultant, and then I brought in Kaisel Salim, who's the chief designer. And we
But you
worked
were already
together.
friends. You guys were
Yeah,
friends?
yeah. I'd met him a few times before. He's a great designer, and this was a great project for both of us to sort of get involved in. And the rest is history. They're making 88 of them, and they've taken deposits for almost a quarter of them.
Wow.
So, it's a good project for me to be involved in on a lot of terms. It's creative, it's not Porsche-centric, and it's something I really wanted to do.
Design suits you too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got an eye.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed creating things, whether it's clothing or restoring buildings or adding my own sort of flair and touch to various things, not just cars, but furniture and clothing and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was a great opportunity, which is actually opening the doors to conversations with other people about consulting on other projects that are design related. So this might be a whole new direction for me.
Magnus Walker, consultant.
Yeah,
That's right, design consultant.
I've been on another cool project with Automobilia Pininfarina for the past year. And for those that don't know, Pininfarina is perhaps the world's greatest automotive design house based in Turin, been in business for 95 years. Yeah. Probably designed some of the most iconic Ferraris, to name a bunch of other stuff. And I'm doing a little project with those guys on this all-electric Battista, which is a 2,000 horsepower hypercar.
Ooh.
This is the blue one that's sitting at your place?
Yeah, it's the blue
Okay.
one.
Okay.
It's
Well, it's many colors now, I guess.
many colors, and this was a similar project that just sort of rolled my way, literally. I'd driven the actual hypercar, and over drinks and conversation, I was offered the opportunity to be a custodian of this. What I have, the blue car in the garage is actually a life-size design study resin model, of which only 2 were ever made. And Pininfarina debuted the Battista at the Geneva Auto Show in 2018. And this life-size design study model was one of 2 made, and it was on display at the Geneva Auto Show. Then it ran around the world and literally was at the Peterson Museum for a year as part of a Pininfarina exhibition. And weirdly, for some strange reason, Pininfarina, or Automobilia Pininfarina, which is the automotive division of the design house, didn't want us to ship it back to Turin. So they basically said, hey,
You mind if we park this for a little bit?
You want it, buddy?
yeah, you can sort of have it.
Wow.
I go, sure. And then a couple of months later, I get a rendering from the designer in 277 livery. And then about a month after that, he goes, hey, how would you feel about sort of collaborating on a one-of-one edition of this car?
Is it like an art car?
Yes, an art car.
Okay.
One of one, baby.
One of one. So.
Love it.
With Pininfarina, I mean, that's to me, that is a legacy company. They've just
Yeah,
been around forever.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the TWR is great. I've really enjoyed it. And driving that car, 660 horsepower, 2-wheel drive, supercharged manual, is just awesome. But designing and collaborating with Pininfarina is kind of like a kid's dream come true.
Yeah.
And all this just sort of happened organically. I'm still sort of the one-man army, meaning that there's no marketing, PR manager, agent.
You don't have a team. You never
There's
have.
no team. There is no team. It's me and Sergio. Sergio, if the roof's leaking, he's patching it.
Yeah. Keeping all the cars plugged in.
Yeah, he's charging batteries and painting stuff and patching roofs when they leak. And
He was taking care of the cat for a bit. Is the cat still there, or the cat's at the
Jet's
house?
still there.
Okay.
And Serge takes care of Willow when we go out of town,
Yep.
so he'll be taking care of Willow. So yeah, that's it. It's Serge and I. It's like the odd couple, and he's been with me for I don't know, over 25 years.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's kind of simplistic, kind of rustic.
Let's see what we got here. There's some comments. Irene Hoffman says, hello, Jay. Thanks, Irene. Hello to you. Dan McInnes, hola, Magnus could use a little more volume on the mic. Thanks for that.
I told him to let me know if it continued,
Mic check.
but he never did.
It's
so
the new position of the mic here.
Yeah, it could be.
That
Could
was
be, and the
like
hat,
your
too.
first 2 words, so I think it's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, good.
The rest is mostly me.
Oh, really? Okay. Thanks.
And Irene just talking
Okay,
about
good.
cars.
All right, great. As long as I don't have to do
Yeah,
it.
no, you're good.
Arielle, Jay already knows this. I don't know squat about cars, but I love tuning into the show. That's hilarious. All right. Here, let's go to the blue card.
Blue card.
Did you have anything you wanted to talk about today? I don't want to.
Talk about me driving up the crest yesterday in the snow.
Oh.
I know. I love
We
those
can-
pictures.
we
That
can
was
talk about
awesome.
that.
You took the turbo up?
Yeah, I wasn't planning on going. I was just kind of going for a drive. And then I looked up and saw snow, and I go, oh, I think I can get to that. And it was open. I just kept going, expecting it not to be open at some point.
6,000 foot gate or even further?
I turned around at Newcomb's,
Oh, okay.
5400.
Okay.
Because, I actually had to get back downtown for something that was happening. So I was on somewhat of a time crunch. Plus I hadn't prepared in case, you get stranded in snow, without a coat type of thing. But I was kind of surprised how great it was up there and how many people were actually out driving up there. Like, I wasn't the only one up there.
Really?
There were a lot of people up there, and it was like the first time in weeks we actually have blue skies.
Right.
And obviously it rained pretty heavy on Saturday, Sunday, so
I think that's why the photos are so
if it
spectacular.
rains down here, it was probably snow at 4,000 feet.
Yeah, that's about what they said.
It was snow
3,500.
like, when you go sort of past the turnoff for the forest and you go to the big donut pull in 2-3 miles up the road, that was where the snow began,
Okay.
just south of the Mount Wilson turnoff. Now, the Mount Wilson turnoff road, that was actually closed, but there was no snow on the road.
Oh, okay.
And I just kept going all the way up to Newcomb's, but it was a combo of sort of fresh snow, pretty deep, but it obviously, been sort of salting the road because
Yeah.
it wasn't plowed.
Caltrans during this time, they've been using it to try to get the top part fixed up.
Yeah.
The snow probably didn't help anything, but previous to that, with the fires and everything,
That would make
they were
sense.
using that time to try to get
And
the
it was
road open.
really, really bright. Like, I never wear sunglasses, but at some point I'm like, wow, I'm kind of getting snowblind here.
Well, that's
Because
what
it was so white and
I thought-
so clear.
That's why I thought maybe it was so clear, because the air was so clear. The sky was incredibly blue in
It was
your
sort
pictures.
of a great combo of, the rain got rid of everything that was in the sky, and the winds blew it out, and then behind was this brilliant blue sky and fresh white snow. So yeah, it made for some great photos. And the kind of crazy thing is, it was literally, I was in snow barely 30, 35 miles from the warehouse when I
Yeah.
actually got into it.
Yeah, 40 minutes probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm not sure how far Mount Wilson is from the base of the crest. What do you think it is? 15 miles?
It's 27 to Newcomb's from
Right.
the bottom. So
maybe
I
it's
would
18?
say, 20, maybe 18, 20.
So less than 40 miles from my warehouse, I was in snow, which is kind of crazy. But I've been there before. I've got a photo of my SC 10 years ago, dated May 15th, 2015, ironically. Middle of May, in snow. Like more
Wow.
snow than was there yesterday.
Wow.
Everything's changing. I feel like the Earth is shifting its wobble or something. They're not
Well-
they're not telling us what's going on here. It's not just global warming.
Climate change.
The,
That's what's happening.
But it's not just that. It's not just that. The poles have switched as well, and they talked a couple of years ago. Nobody talked about it, but it was scientifically proven that the core stopped spinning. It stopped, and then it started spinning the other direction. The Earth's core. I don't know if you read scientific journals or anything, but stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what happens in those disaster movies
Well,
to cause all of this
Yeah.
nonsense.
Crazy story back into Miami. Those two cars I was getting shipped from Miami got picked up a week ago on Monday. And then I call the guy, who's like the world's greatest transporter, who was actually communicating and showing up on time and letting me know his status. Told me he was stranded on the side of the road in Florida, got caught out in the 6.5 inches of snow by
Yeah.
Pensacola.
Yep.
And he goes, snow in Florida, it makes no sense. So he literally aborted the trip, turned around, went back to Miami.
With your cars and
Wow.
that was the
He
transport.
had a
truck.
6-car hauler, went back to Miami, stayed in Miami till Saturday, and then arrived in LA today.
Wow.
But he aborted his West Coast trip because he was stranded on the side of the road somewhere in, I guess, western Florida, Pensacola.
They are getting pummeled this year.
Yeah,
I
and
drove
New
down there
Orleans,
through the
too.
hurricane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy weather out there.
I drove down to Florida through the hurricane, Milton or whatever. I drove in with the National Guard the next day. It
No
was
way.
atrocious. Hundreds of miles with no power, no hotels. I ran out of gas. I ran out of electricity for my cell phone. Couldn't find a hotel. Literally had a friend down there who brought who siphoned gas into my tank from jugs.
How many miles
Jerry
you got
cans.
on Yellow Car now?
142,000.
That's pretty good.
Over 100 of those are ours. We bought it with 30.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
The car's running
Crazy,
good?
right? 9,000 miles. Yeah, we did all of that, and then all it needed when we got back to TLG was an oil change.
Wow.
So good.
What the fuck? That's rad.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
It's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
really
I mean,
good.
we stay on top of it. I mean, that car has constant service thanks to TLG, but to be able to go do a 13,000 mile, 10-week road trip,
Wow.
48 of the lower 48 states.
Wow. I'm just about to hit 190,000 miles in the 991.
Hell yeah.
And it had what, 140 when you got
No, I had
120?
159. I had a boatload of miles
159.
when I got it, so I put 30 on it, but,
Actually, that's probably the car you drive the most, isn't it? Isn't that your
yeah,
daily?
it's kind of the daily, believe it or not, gets parked outside, gets covered in whatever comes out of the sky. Willows in it, there's dog hair all over it. It's the only car I'll sort of let someone else valet park if we're going
Yes.
somewhere. It's the only non-manual Porsche I actually own.
It's also the most incognito car you have too, probably,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like
mean,
where you cannot
here in
be
LA, it's
recognized.
super incognito.
Yeah, but I mean, as
Which is
you,
kind of crazy to say. Yeah, it's sort of under the radar. Yeah, I mean that is the day. That's sort of the day. That and the old Rolls is the daily driver.
I currently have Jerry Seinfeld's old 82 SC downstairs because it belongs to a friend who lost their house in the Palisades fire. So I'm just storing it temporarily. But driving that car back here after being used to drive a yellow car, I felt invisible. A couple people looked at the cool old vintage Porsche, but compared to yellow car, which
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
every,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it was so nice. It was like I came home refreshed.
Did you like the SC? Did you like the
Yeah,
SC?
yeah, of course. I mean, yeah. If our life was different, we would have bought an air-cooled car.
What color is it in that car?
I don't know what it's called, but it's that bright blue. It's a Targa, 82
Okay.
Targa with the turbo spoiler.
Okay.
Super
Not the
cute.
Carrera spoiler, the other one.
The other one.
Not the
Yeah.
whale tail, the other one.
I get it.
T-Tray toy, the spoiler. And Targa.
I've never owned a Targa.
It's not for me, I don't think. I mean, this had the roof on when I drove it, but I don't know. It's not. I probably wouldn't choose a Targa. I don't know. These days, I wouldn't turn anything away, I guess.
I'd take it. but I
Air-cooled
wouldn't choose
911.
it.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, you're missing, in my opinion, the beauty of the design of the 911 when you remove like the beautiful shapes and the swoops and it's like the size of a woman's body. It's like hips. It's beautiful.
Wow.
There you
I don't
go.
disagree with anything you just said. No, I don't
Targa
disagree
time
with
for
anything
you,
you
I
said.
guess.
But they all have a different thing.
Yeah,
the Targa has
yeah.
its own neat lines. They're just different from the coupe
Absolutely.
lines.
It's a quirky little guy. We got some YouTube comments if you want to check them out.
Okay.
I'll tell you where to keep scrolling.
Are you
down.
live on YouTube?
We are
Yeah,
live on
we
YouTube
are.
and Facebook, and I
Stop
read
when
fascinating, yes, learning one thing from the Swiss language they're swiftly uttering.
Swiss. Just read the subtitles.
That's hilarious.
Swiss time.
Jay, fix is good. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
So, are you
Derek
going?
Whitaker, looking at Magnus's warehouse on Zillow. Let me
Uh-oh.
dig in the couch cushion and see how much I can come up with.
There you go.
We'll be in touch, he
We'll be
said.
in
Yeah.
touch. There you go.
What's going on with Stupid Car these days?
He's,
Derek, what's going on with Stupid Car?
There you go. He's keeping it.
I
You know,
like
he
that
sold
car.
other car.
Yeah.
And have you seen his
Yeah,
Mustang?
the Mustang. The
This
Mustang is
guy's fucking
great.
badass.
The Mustang rocks.
And he won Radwood with that
I
thing.
know.
It's
Congrats.
so cool.
Congrats.
Hello, no question, just a love and miss you guys from Yasmin Karash.
So, Crest, are you going up on Friday?
Yeah, hopefully. I don't think it will be extended. The closure will be extended, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. Hi, Jay and Magnus. Feels like forever. Can't wait to see you both at GVBC. Magnus, great TWR Supercat launch. Thanks for
Thank you very
the
much.
invite. That's Paul Kennel. So I had a conversation after our show the other night. Remember the guy from the Forest
Yeah.
Service was chiming in live on the show?
Yeah.
What is he?
Well, we had a little interesting conversation off the air, which basically said that
Be careful, you're on the end.
well, I know because we're not because Newcomb's is private property. It's not actually the forest, and the public technically is allowed to traverse the roadways, as you saw yesterday. While they're not allowed to go into the forest, they're technically allowed to be on the roadways. Shy of somebody going off and then requiring emergency personnel and resources to come up, we actually would be clear to go. I've been trying to set the right example, and I also feel like once Newcomb's is open, I'll have to play that card a lot.
Yeah.
So I figured, why play it now? But it looks like it won't be extended. So Friday, I think, will be okay because midnight on Friday morning is when it gets lifted.
Yeah.
So I think so. I
It
think
was
Friday
interesting
will be
because
okay.
yesterday, I don't think everyone was going to Newcomb's. I was the only one that stopped there.
Right.
And people were just going right past it. I saw a lot of people making snowmen,
The
having
parking lot
snowball
wasn't
fights.
plowed, right?
Maybe
Just-
10, 12 feet of it was.
But not like they usually do.
No.
They do the whole thing. Okay.
No, but half of the pull-ins were sort of plowed where you could pull in, but you can't get it to the bathroom type of thing.
Right.
But people were making snowmen and having snowball fights.
That was your first time up in a few weeks?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, had you gone up during the fires at all?
no. Well,
Okay.
yes, actually, I did. And probably a week ago, I went up.
Okay.
I mean, the road is not closed, or
Correct.
there's no gate closing the road that's stopping people going through. And the Palmdale Express, as I like to call it, is still happening. People are still coming through from Palmdale and Lancaster.
Interesting.
So it's not like there's a gate
The
closed where.
forest roads aren't closed. The forest itself is closed, theoretically.
Yeah, but they could close the road because there's plenty of gates, right?
Yeah, they can, sure, yeah.
So, but those gates were open, so. And there was
Interesting.
no one there sort of telling you can't go.
The National Guard wasn't at the
The
bottom
National
of the tank.
Guard wasn't there. There was no sign saying road closed. There was no forestry service, telling you can't go up the road.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how many people were up there on a Monday afternoon. It wasn't like it was a holiday.
Right.
Not like the week before when it was, Martin Luther King Day.
Well, it didn't even occur to me. Yeah, 3-day weekend. It
Yeah,
didn't even occur to
not
me.
a 3-day weekend. Anyway, so
Got the answer from Derek. Trans is done with the rebuild. Just need to drive it.
Yeah, it's sitting in the garage, last I saw.
I think he's got. Is that the Tremec 5-speed he's putting in there?
In Stupid Car?
No, in the Mustang.
Oh. Is that what he was talking about?
Talking about the Mustang or stupid?
I
He
think
just
it was
said
stupid
Trans
cars.
is done with the rebuild. Just
Stupid.
need to drive it.
I think it was
so.
stupid
Oh,
cars.
stupid car.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so because that's what you were asking about. And
I
Dan
need
wants
to drive the Mustang.
Yeah.
The Mustang's cool.
The Radwood winner, right?
Aha!
It's just a neat car.
Yeah, for
I love
sure.
a neat,
Yeah,
low
boxy.
numbers production car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, how
cool.
many of those things were there? A dozen or 20
You
of
got to
them?
ask Derek.
Wow.
We should get him on the show.
Not many. That's right.
Get him on the show. He can be over. He's close by.
He. I do want to have him in here actually. My Porsche story is something we both did
Yeah.
since I saw you last.
Porsche Santa Clarita.
Bo Bachman, Galpin.
Yeah. The world's largest Ford dealer.
Is that true?
That's true. Or it was.
I'm gonna start saying
I'm pretty
that.
sure it is. That was kind of the whole claim to fame was Galpin Ford, the world's largest volume Ford dealer.
Don't think I knew that.
It's a good thing to know.
I felt, Nicole and I felt, incredibly out of place being in that series with the company we kept. You, Matt Farah, Bruce Meyer, Eloise Roof. It's kind of an amazing thing for us to be part of it. People have been making movies about you forever, but I thought the quality of this was really exceptional. Were you happy with what you got?
Yeah. I mean, you guys have got a great story, so it's all about people and stories. So your story is a compelling story for all the reasons we know.
I appreciate that, but I mean yours. I loved yours too. I loved all of the different tellings.
Yeah, everyone's got an interesting story, and people relate to stories of cars, right? I've told a lot of stories of cars that I own, but I'd never told the story of that 75 Turbo. And that's kind
the
of
motor.
Well, the whole car and how it came, and it's a complex story that you couldn't have scripted if you were writing a Porsche story. And for me, I'm a goal-oriented collector, so that car was on the wish list. It was the first year of production for the Turbo, debuted in 1975, the iconic 930. Porsche only made 284 of them, and it's probably documented 100 of them left in the world. So, pretty significant piece of Porsche history. Ironically, in an awesome color combo of ice green metallic with black watch tartan. People get all excited about rare shades and paint to sample and, this whole thing, right, of people get all excited about, wow, I got my GT3 RS paint to sample. I go, well, this is a first year turbo in a really, really unusual color combo with a story that you'd come to script it on a very significant car. And yeah, it was and I'd never told that story. So when they came to me and said, we want to do a story on one of your cars, but you've told so many, we don't quite know what to do. I got the perfect car for you.
Oh, you knew it. You were holding that one.
Yeah, I was maybe. I mean, not intentionally. I got a lot of cars with a lot of stories that I haven't shared. That just happened to be one of them. And it was, following the thread and the needle in the haystack. And ultimately, the moral to that story is I didn't care about finding the original motor. It found me. So
it proves you didn't care because you never even put it in the car.
I still haven't put it in the car.
So to me, that's the coolest part of the story.
It's like, why did I do it? Well, the smart part is like, I need the two together. But from a driving experience, I don't care about numbers matching stuff.
And you like it how it is.
And this is a perfect example. Some people would be like, oh, you got to restore that car. But I have photos of that car in the 80s when it lived in New York with the Brumo stripe painted on it. And if you're a Porsche fan, you're a Brumos fan, you go, how did that 930 Turbo end up with a Brumo stripe on it 40 years ago? It's not original, but it's kind of a defining feature of the car. Mm-hmm. And just how those pieces came together, it's just an interesting story that went through this warren of highs and lows and finally all came together. And then you say in the end, I never even put the case in the car. I could have taken everything out of the 75 motor that's in it, put it in the numbers matching case. But I go, what difference does it make? Because it's a numbers matching case, but there wouldn't be the original pistons and cylinders and crank and all the other stuff. So what's the point? But the only bit that they sort of missed on that story, and I think they cut it short, was the punchline was, it's a 75 Turbo with a 75 Turbo motor and drivetrain in it that came from another car. Mm-hmm. So now I have to figure out, okay, the motor that's in it, where's that other car?
Right.
And let's reunite those two.
Right.
That was the bit they actually cut out of the edit. And at that point, it was like this thing had, they probably shot my episode a year before the edit. So at that point,
6 months or so for us, too.
it was at least a year on mine. So it was kind of like, it's a great episode. People seem to like it, but they missed the punchline of, hey, I got to go find the, I don't care about
Story's
putting
not
that
over.
in mind. It's not over.
Yeah.
And I've got the book, and I can find, I haven't even bothered to look, because you can go backwards and go engine number to chassis number.
Reverse match it.
Reverse match it. Because that was how the engine was found in the first place.
Was that right?
Well,
Because somebody reached out to you.
yeah, it was Ryan Snodgrass that wrote the 3-liter turbo book. And he at one point he was chasing the car, but I already had a deal in place. It was a very weird story, but
Did Snodgrass know about it because of the Brumos connection? Or?
No. Snodgrass knew about it because he'd wrote the Bible on 3-liter turbos.
Okay.
He wrote a book which is the world. If you're into turbocharged 3-liter cars, his book is the Bible on that. It just covers the first 3 years of production, 75, 6, and 7.
Okay.
It's hundreds of pages thick. It's like an encyclopedia. So he did all the research every year. So he knew the VIN number, and then he obviously cross-referenced the engine number and put it in Google, and it popped up. And the case had been for sale on Pelican Parts.
So much info.
The motor had been somewhere in California, and the weird sort of 100 degrees of separation was a buddy acquaintance of ours bought the case and was shipping it back to Europe, hoping to do the reverse, match the case to the car.
Wow.
And so, in the end, I had to tell him, hey, because I said, I see you've got this case. I'd like to buy it. He wanted to partner in on the deal. I go, I don't need a partner. He goes, well, I'll pay you half of what you paid for the car. I go, I didn't pay anything for the car because I didn't. I traded
He was perfect.
another car
Price is
into
right.
it. Yeah, so it was like, it just kept going and going. And in the end, he ended up selling me the case for probably 3 times what he paid for it, which of course didn't feel great. But
Yeah.
in the end, it was still a win-win-win. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was my Porsche story. Those guys need to do more of those episodes,
I agree. I think that there are a bunch in the can.
I mean, you would think. I mean, they did 7, and then what happened to moving on?
Well, and then there's a bunch that. Oh, did 7 get aired? I thought only 4 got aired. I might not be up on if they've all been up yet. I know that
Matt's.
there was a bunch that they did.
There's yours, there's mine, there's
Bruce
Bruce
Meyer,
Myers,
yeah.
there's one other, there's at least 5.
And then Roof is one.
All right, so
And
is
then-
that Ed?
And then there's there was a race car one. I can't remember if it was a 917 or what, but there was maybe a 962, but there was a race car one. And unfortunately, I don't remember. But there was a bunch. So
Okay.
hopefully there's more
Yeah.
coming out. I don't know if they're doing it in seasons or what.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they doing it in seasons? Did they give either of you any indication?
Let's
of
get
that?
Bo on the phone. We got to find out
I'll,
from Bo.
I'll,
There
I'll,
you go.
Come on.
I'll text
Live
Garza.
calls.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go live on here and see if there's any Instagram questions as well.
You live on the Gram, YouTube, Facebook?
I'm just hitting the live on the gram here. We're telling your followers. So is this an issue for you yet? Do you have this problem yet?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Why did you not go live on the Gram at 5?
It's too much.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
too much. People
These
can't
are my
really watch
readers.
it there anyway. Oh, yours are way more stylish. My aunt gave me these on the road trip.
Hannah got me these. I mean, like probably, I don't know, at least 5, 6 years ago.
let's see
How
what
I
you got
found out, I'm, I think 150.
Oh, this is perfect.
Oh,
Those are
those are
really
great.
strong. This is perfect.
See, those don't really look like readers.
No, they don't. That's
But-
the secret. You got to get readers that just look like rad glasses.
Yeah.
I like that. Also, they're so light. The wire frames
Lightweight.
is great. Where did she get those? Is that a flea market find? Do I
No,
have
these
to?
are actually caddies, believe it or not. They look like aviators.
But that's why I like them.
Yeah, me too. So how I found out I was losing my eyesight, or not as sharp, was one time I was on a plane and I couldn't get the magazine far enough away
Yeah.
without hitting the seat in front, which just shows I was flying regular economy
Coach,
Yeah, it
sure.
doesn't say
coach.
much.
Like I'm not balling out.
Steerage.
I'm not balling out in business class, and I kept hitting the seat before I could get it far enough away to read. And then of course I went big text on the phone, and then
I did that.
finally, someone looked at my phone and go, "Wow, are you going blind or something?" I go, "How do you mean?" They go, "Your text is so big." So then I started getting the cheap, $9.99 readers because I break them all the time.
I was going to do
Lose
that.
and
Go to
crap
the
like
the
that.
Rite Aid and just go
Yeah.
get a bunch off the rack.
Yeah,
But I may just stick with these.
There you
yeah,
go.
those are very very cool. So yeah, these are my readers. Which,
But you would never
Those are
know
cool.
yours were readers.
Yeah.
I feel, mine these have the magnified eyes and the whole bit.
yeah, you kind of bugging out with that one.
It's great when
Hey,
you do
everybody.
the
Who's got a
eyes.
question for Magnus Walker? He's in the chair tonight. Oh, there's a lot of people here. Hey, everybody. I did this wrong.
You gotta get those
I did
glasses
this
back.
wrong every time. There we go. The over 40 reach is what somebody calls that. The over
Yeah.
40 reach. Final Blaster greetings.
It probably happened to me when I was turning 50, and now I'm 57. I'm heading towards 58 this year.
Oh, mine was.
Time is marching
Mine was earlier. Mark Perbanik says hi, guys. Great
Now,
to
I
see
saw
you.
Mark was just down at the 24 Hours of Daytona. If you listen, I saw you were down there.
He was. Did you see him when you were in Florida? At DRT?
No, I didn't see him at DRT.
Oh, okay.
But I saw him out with all the cool dudes on the infield. And obviously, big victory for Porsche, Nick Tandy.
Oh, yeah. Congrats.
Yeah, seem to have got their act together.
What is
which
that, a 919? Is that what the new one is?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm confused. Everything's too modern and fast.
They need a street version of that. I mean, it's like, here's one more broken record rant of me, where is Porsche's supercar, 959 of the Carrera GT to the 918, right?
What's the answer? The 918 is the last one.
I mean, the 918 debuted in 2013, so that's 12 years ago. But the technology in that car is a minimum 15 years old. I think Porsche thought the Mission X, was going to be the follow-up, and then it appears no one wants a all-electric Porsche hypercar.
The Mission R to me was what I thought. I thought that was going to be something.
Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on. It's like this misstep of everything electrification. No one wants a Taycan. Hardly anyone wants an electric Macan. It's like the depreciation on Taycans like through the roof.
Really?
They can't really give them away. And yet they can't pivot and come up with a, in a way it makes people like Mercedes, like McLaren and Lamborghini sort of look smart that they went hybrid. They didn't put all their eggs in an electric basket.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So Porsche can't seem to pivot in the sense of Mission R, Mission X, whatever it is. Let's go hybrid because it was developed from the ground up to be an electric car, and it's not like we can just bang in an ICE motor and make it hybrid. It seems.
Well,
So
I mean, I agree with
they
everything.
need
you
a
just-
halo car because, as great as GT3s and GT3 RSs and GT3 Tourings and 911Rs and 911Ts and 57 varieties of 911s, which are great, right? But yeah, we need a halo car that's supposed to car on your wall.
I don't disagree with any of that, but they're all so stinking I mean, the RS today is full race car. I mean, that's way too much car for the road, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's too much of a race car for the street, but you dive into that and you go, okay, look at the performance from that drivetrain. Porsche's maxed out to meet emissions a naturally aspirated 4-liter powertrain.
Yep.
Because if you look at it, it's about the same amount of output as it was, at least in 2018, which is 7 years ago.
Is that right?
It might have a horsepower increase of 5 horsepower, maybe, but it's so far up the RPM range that you never get there.
Right.
And the GT3 RS is, in my experience, is probably slower than the one before on the street because, to make it go faster, they've got all the whizzy racy bits, diffusers, big wing that's always in your way.
Mm-hmm.
It tram lines on the road. So in real world driving conditions on the road,
You're not going as fast.
it's not going as fast, and they're not maximizing any more horsepower out of that drivetrain to actually meet emissions, it seems. And so it's kind of like when I think of Porsche as an engineering firm always advancing, on the streetable sports cars, they haven't actually advanced in the past 6-8 years.
Wow.
It might have 510, 515 horsepower compared to 505.
Right.
But it's the usability of it that is, to me, not quite as usable. So the Halo car, is like, where's the 918 follow-up, right?
Well, but where do you go, I guess, is my point. What do they do? What do they make? They make another...
You make
The
something...
918 was hybrid, right? That was hybrid.
Yeah, you make another hybrid car.
Okay.
They throw out these specials, right? Like the 935 slant nose version of the 991
Yep.
GT2, where we're only making 77 of them, and they're not road legal.
Those
but
feel like cash grabs to me.
yeah, they're also not homologated for any race series. So you're never going to see them in like the WEC race competing
Right.
against anyone else.
You'll
And
only
it's-
see them in your buddy's garage.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, if you're going to do that, why not just make 1,000 of them? But because it's not road legal, they don't have to do that, and it becomes such a low volume thing.
Is that the reason? Low
Yeah.
volume? Oh, I didn't realize that.
But it's kind of like, why? So to me, it becomes a little frustrating. But hey, it was great that they won at Daytona.
Why don't we take over the Porsche marketing team?
Yeah, we should. I mean,
Truly. Let's go.
Here's what they need.
Why don't we just do that?
Here's what they need.
whole team here.
They need a GTST. You go, what's a GTST? Well, it's a touring version of the GTS, right? You know, we don't have that yet, so we need that. You know, we could almost have an RS version of the GTS. You know,
Okay.
A GTS RS. You know, just tack it on, right? Why not?
Why not?
It's like sticking a turbo badge on an electric Taycan. You go, how does that turbocharger work on an
Yeah.
electric car? Well, it doesn't, right? But it's a marketing thing.
Let's
Yeah,
do a shooting brake
exactly.
911 too with a pizza warmer in the back.
Yeah, why? Sort of
Like
the
the old
928.
square back BWs, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think they were busy going up the mountain in South America for the last couple of years.
Well, yes, and I drove that car. I actually drove that car that they call Edith, that set the altitude record down in Chile, right? And when I saw that, I just assumed they'd driven like 3,000 miles across Chile to get up to whatever the altitude was,
Right.
20,000 feet. But then I later found out that actual drive to the summit, admittedly it was at 20,000 feet, but the base camp was at 18.
Oh,
And I think
you're
the
kidding.
drive up was less than 20 miles.
You're
Come
kidding.
on.
No.
It's totally a different deal.
Yeah.
And it turns out that test ground is a proving ground where Mercedes was there with the AMG,
Yep.
G-Wagon, Land Rover's there.
Ah.
So I just assumed they'd found this unpaved road that went all the way up to whatever that altitude was or is and covered thousands of miles across Chile getting there.
Nope.
But
Not so much.
the actual drive was about 20 miles.
That's
Wow, what a cheat.
And they weren't competing against anyone in the sense of, here to me, like, they're all about this clean synthetic fuel, right? That's sort of developing, ironically, down in Chile. And you go, well, when you released the Dakar and you sort of played on all the heritage of Jackie Hicks winning the Dakar in 1984 for the 40th anniversary, and all of your marketing was showing Jackie Hicks sat on the seat outside
Rothmans
the
car, right?
Dakar, like the Rothmans 959 is
Right,
what it was.
right.
40 years ago when he won the Dakar. I go, to me, what would have been great is take that Dakar, run it on synthetic fuel, and go do the Dakar.
with the old car.
With the brand new car.
Oh, I
actually
see.
compete in the Dakar, and then go do the Baja 1000, right? And actually show that this synthetic fuel is actually functioning. Ironically, Ford did it in the Baja 1000 in a pickup truck on synthetic fuel.
This is the plot of the movie Cars 2.
Yeah.
Mater.
What it seems to me is they don't want to compete in an environment where they may not win.
That's what it
Yeah.
sounds like. They
So
don't have control
let's
over
just
it.
drive up to an altitude where we can control it. We'll be the first to put our flag up there. It'll be great, right? As opposed to let's take that same car and actually run the Dakar on the synthetic fuel that we're sort of touting as renewable energy, so we can keep running
Feels like cheating.
internal combustion engines because we know we're not going to force people to buy electric cars because for whatever reason people don't want them and all the reasons we know, and so it's just kind of like a bit too much of a marketing thing.
That's a bummer. That's
Yeah.
a bummer because it takes all of the cool factor out for me.
Yeah. It was cool when he thought he drove 3,000 miles across Chile to that height.
Absolutely.
But it's not cool that
Absolutely.
maybe drove 20, 25 miles.
Well, it's fine, but they clearly let us. Whatever. I don't think any of that was a mistake. Speaking of places we don't normally see each other, the PEC. We both got invited to the PEC to put the cars on display.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah.
nice seeing you there.
Pekla.
Yeah, Pekla.
December.
Porsche Experience Center, Los Angeles.
Yeah, weirdly, like, no one seems to call it Pekla.
They don't like that.
They don't like that.
No, I've been
Oh,
told.
oh,
that
you've been
they-
corrected on how you pronounce it?
They don't correct, but they say we prefer. We
Yeah.
don't like that.
Well, the OG one down in Atlanta, no one calls that Pecatl, which
No.
would be PCATL. No one calls it
No,
Pecatl.
maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I was down there too. You know Ray Schaefer, right?
Yeah, I know. I saw him in Miami. Yeah,
Oh,
I do know-
beautiful.
I do know Ray Schaefer.
Oh, fantastic.
I met Ray when he was at Brumo's
Oh, right.
before he went to Porsche Classic.
Was he GM or was GM there probably
Yeah,
at the time?
GM at Brumo's.
Such a small world. Every time, even though he's not at Porsche anymore,
Right.
while I'm on the road trip, I still, 2 years in a row, but we stop and have lunch at Porsche Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta.
Yeah, and then he'll give me the whole tour. Everybody there still thinks he works there.
Of
They all
course.
say hello to him. I mean, he's got free run of the whole thing. And he created the Heritage Gallery, so it's kind of nice to get the tour
Wow.
from him down there.
So you were just there in Atlanta recently.
Just there, 2 months ago?
Okay.
You mean 10 years
Yeah,
ago?
I mean, the trip was 10 weeks.
I think that Experience Center in Atlanta must have opened maybe 2014.
That sounds right. It was, I think, a year or two before this one, right?
Yeah, the LA one was super delayed. I guess they found, that ground wasn't stable.
You got it.
and,
You got it.
It was contaminated, and, it took a lot more time, energy, and money to stabilize that with concrete caissons and the rest of it.
All the above.
Yeah.
I guess it was a landfill at one point, and then it was a factory of some sort. And so there was a lot of stuff
Kind of makes sense.
that they had to figure out, yeah. And then I think they changed the topography a bit, too, to do the trek and all that. So, I mean, they were bulldozing stuff around, moving dirt.
It's a little bit like Venice, right? It's a floating island,
Yeah.
sort of.
I think this world has been around a very long time. I don't think we're the first people to inhabit
No. Keeps on spinning.
it. But I had a good time that day. It was us and Auto Kennel, and it seemed to be a handful of people that we would have been hanging out anyway. It was kind of fun.
It's always a hang.
Yeah. You don't go down there too often, do you? I don't find myself down there very often.
No. I think you can count on this hand the amount of times I've been there.
Yeah.
I was at the opening, though, when it opened, which I think was 2017,
Sounds right.
the LA one.
Yeah, sounds right. G.I. Jen. Shout out to G.I. Jen.
I've
Who's not there anymore.
I've never even been on that track.
I haven't either. There was a couple times we were going to do a parade lap, and when I saw them doing it, I go, that doesn't look like much fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that at all. And I didn't
No.
cash in my ticket. We just didn't do it. Nicole said no, actually. She goes, that's it? And I was like, "Yeah."
No, smart.
Yeah.
Wise
The most fun she ever had on a racetrack was the day we went with you to California Speedway for the,
the
NASCAR
NASCAR.
event. That was a fun.
That was
a
great.
fun day.
Yeah, that parade lap was actually great.
Yeah, that was cool.
I got some killer photos because there were a lot of marshals. Yeah, it was a good day.
Me too, and it's gone now.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It still doesn't make sense to me. Something that large could just be gone. We've talked for an hour. Let's get into it. Loss. The missus isn't here. You came that last week. Anything?
Not easy. I've been there. Time heals and helps. Memories last forever, but still hurts.
The road trip was good for me, but I'm not fine. It's
How
still
could you be?
still
I
a
mean,
roller
this is-
coaster.
Less than 6 months.
Yeah. I was down at Leno's garage today, and, that's the first thing he asks every time. Oh, geez, how you doing? He was one of the first people to call and text and whatever. And it just, every time I think I'm fine, or I've got it pretty well handled, I'll bump into somebody in the real world who wants to talk about it. And then you got to go back.
Yeah.
And you do it all over again.
That will never stop.
Did that happen for you? Were people
Still happening.
Really?
Because people associate the last time they saw you with her. So I still have people come up to me.
How long has it been? 8 years?
It'll be 10
Wow.
this year.
Wow.
It was 2015.
Ugh.
So that's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
It'll that experience of not experience that thing when people come up to you is going to last a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. Obviously I partially like it, but it's just, it's a lot.
Yeah, it brings it
every
all
time.
back up again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everyone deals with grief differently, and there's no rule book on how you get through this, and what worked for you might not have worked for me, or vice versa. And I traveled to begin with for the first 6 months, kind of like what you
did? Oh, really?
Yeah, I just traveled, which helped a little.
Yeah. The being in a different place every day helped me. The fact that you have to get up and go drive 500 miles someplace or whatever, that you couldn't stay in bed. I never stayed in bed even when I was here, but I wanted to. And then being on the road sort of forced me to get into the grind again, I guess, which was good for me. But I also was driving around the country seeing people who loved Nicole and wanted to grieve and talk about it. And that was really hard. It was hard because I was still raw when I left.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to deal with other people's emotions when you're grieving yourself.
That was why I got out of town. I was snapping at everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to help, and I was snapping at everybody.
There's nothing anyone's going to say that's really going to help. At some point, it's going to become irritating. At some point, it's stressful and tearful and painful and all of the above. It's just really tough. It's difficult to sort of deal with that. But what I found was being busy, trying to move every day, trying to create something, or some days are better than others, I guess, you know.
Yeah, you're right about the creating. If I can lose myself in some kind of work,
Yeah.
creating,
Distraction.
being productive in some
Yeah.
way, that seems to be like the only thing that'll circumvent my thinking.
Right.
Flow state. It's being in
Flow state, right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a happy place anyway.
Yeah. That's sort of where you're going to find yourself gravitating towards, I think. Just staying busy, staying occupied, keep moving.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. I mean, it really is tough.
Yeah.
And
There's
it's
so-
tough for me.
There's so few people I know who I can truly talk about it with. I can talk about it with anybody, but to really get into the nitty-gritty where I feel heard, it needs to be somebody like you, Marco, somebody who's been through it. Tom Kearns down in Orange County. I mean, there's all these people we know who have either had to take care of somebody for a long time or just, lost somebody. I mean, yours was sudden. I can't even imagine how that was, and I don't want to make you go there, but one of the most special times for me in the last year or so was when we were shooting OPP with Yellow Car, and you and I were sitting in the metal bench, the 2-seater bench at Newcomb's, and the guys were doing the car, and it was just nobody else was out there. It wasn't a GVBC day, and we were just sitting there, and you asked me, how's it going, or something, and it just got real fast. It got really real, and Nicole was still alive when we did that. And I remember coming home and talking to her and telling her, I always liked Magnus, but I can't explain after the conversation today. It has nothing to do with the cars or the show or anything, but you were there for me in a way where somebody hadn't been yet, and I'll never forget it, and I'm just very appreciative. Nobody needs to know what we were talking about, but it was real shit. And I'll just always love you for it. I'm really appreciative.
I mean, it's hard for people to relate to it unless you've been there. And like I say, it's just not easy. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's a one day at a time thing. And time really helps, but it takes time. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. This I know.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you were imparting to me was, you can't see it right now, but trust me, it's there.
Yeah, you can't say, okay, it's going to take you X amount of time because everyone is different. But what I do know is there is light at the end of the tunnel. How long that tunnel is, only time will tell. But you got to keep going towards the light. That's it.
Right.
You just got to keep going. It's a finish. There's no finish line here, but you got to keep running towards it and treading water. That's the tricky bit. And some days are better than others, and it's just all part of that journey. And that's kind of it. Simplified, distilled down. But that's it. There is hope, and life goes on, and life will at some point be as normal as it's ever going to be. And that'll be a good place when you arrive there. And that could be tomorrow, it could be a year, it could be 5 years.
Yeah.
In community, being able to talk to each other in this way, and especially as men, a lot of men really struggle with that. The loneliness pandemic is very real, and so, or endemic, whatever. But having community of men around you to talk through this, because it is a very specific type of loss that very few people have experienced, but it's real, and you need to be able to lean on other people who can impart these beautiful words and be there for you and share in these experiences. It's so important, and I'm so grateful that you guys have that together.
It's true. Always expect the unexpected, because there
Good
will
luck.
there will be a time when something's gonna change and something will arrive, and you'll see a spark, and that'll be a new beginning.
That's
There
right.
will be a new beginning,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with a new beginning. It's just a matter of holding out till you get there.
Make
It's
it to the
Make
Make it to that place.
It's this finish line where you don't know how long it is. It's like, how long's a piece of string, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it's it's difficult to describe. It's weirdly easy to say because I've been there and I've come through on the other side. It's just, you got to have faith that life will never be the same. It'll be different, but it'll end up being good. And what I will say is, no one knows how long you have on this earth. And it comes back to the other simple thing. You make the most of every moment. And the amount of time you guys had together, weirdly, in the big picture, is the amount of time you were supposed to have together.
Yeah, I sadly believe that too. It took me a while to get there, but I believe it.
And
The book was already written.
There's no other way to look at it, really, because you can't go back and change anything.
Yeah. Well, but that doesn't... But so many sleepless nights where you're up at night with the woulda, coulda, shouldas. You know, you've done anything different along the way. You run all 1,000 different scenarios.
I've been there. And those scenarios will always be there.
Yeah.
But trust me, there's something on the other side of it. And when the time is right, you'll be there. And everything in between is the healing process that you're going through.
I appreciate it.
So,
and I know you're right. I mean, logically...
This might mean nothing in this moment right now, but this conversation, whenever this moment comes, will be like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. I think that's why the conversation on the mountain meant so much to me, too. It felt like this was great now, but I'm putting it on the shelf for the day when I actually need it, which will be.
Yeah.
I mean, she was still alive at that point. We were just, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, life can be crazy like this.
Thank you for coming that final week. That final week was tragic and oddly beautiful at the same time because it's exactly how she would have done it. She had no control over it. We had to all do it for her, but it is exactly how she would have done it, and I take great solace in that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people came through. A lot of people cared about her, and it was very cool.
She was she was loved.
Yeah.
It was incredible to witness. Just seeing everyone, because I was here for a lot.
Yeah.
I pretty much, once I got here, I never left.
Yeah.
And just seeing the consistent flow of love and energy, and I mean the energy, even though there was something that was so brutally tragic and just, you know, like all of our hearts were broken, and yet there was so much love and so much energy in the room, and just seeing how many people loved her so much and the joy every single person brought into her in those final moments was, I'm going to cry because it was just one of the most beautiful things, and it was such a gift to be able to witness and just see that in your friend, you know, like, it was beautiful.
I agree with all of that, but I think that her parents, it meant the most to her
Yeah.
parents, for them to be able, you know, can you imagine getting on a plane to come say goodbye to your I mean, come on. And they weren't even sure they were going to make it. For them to walk into the environment that she just described.
And then when they went up the hill and they saw everyone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
That was tough. That was, you know, I haven't talked about that at all. That was a tough day for me. That first day. It was the day after she died. Well, you were there. Mm-hmm. I feel like everybody came up.
That was when I finally cried.
Really?
Because I was holding my shit together. Because I was.
I don't know how.
Well, I mean, you know, by myself I did, but, you know, I was kind of. I didn't want to be that with you and her parents, and, you know, obviously we were all grieving going through it, but I think you kind of inherently shift roles sometimes and just know when you have to hold space inherently. It was naturally happening, but somebody came and gave me a hug and I just fucking exploded. It all came out.
Yeah. Eh?
A lot to do with heavy.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going on YouTube? There's tons of comments here. Do I need to look at any of them?
There's only one that I wanted to say from Bill Wolfson. What's the next car project?
Good. Wait, who are you talking to? Magnus?
Magnus.
Yeah, that's a good one. Bill Wolfson's a good guy, too.
Time will tell. TWR is still rolling. Pininfarina is gonna roll. I mean, I talked about it, but you haven't seen it yet.
So that moved, but it's going to happen soon? The Pininfarina?
Yeah, in the next couple of months.
Okay.
You know,
Just
somewhere.
once the fire stuff dies down, is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The fires are out. The air is clean. You know, everything's contained, right? Containment. What is that? It's a strange word.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on a plane. I don't see any smoke. I don't see any fire, but the fire's only
46% contained.
I go, what does that mean, contained?
Do you know the answer? I asked about it.
Yeah, I do know the answer.
Okay.
It's still hard to figure it out, the containment area where it may possibly burn to where they've secured around it.
What my guy said was that to be classified as containment, they have to dig a hole,
Right.
trench all the way
Right.
around the fire zone.
We got a fireman in the house.
Yeah, that's a different world, though.
This is a whole nother
I
thing.
go into structures. I don't go into the forest. Those guys are a different breed.
It's true. There's a whole TV show about it, Fire Country. Phil just did it.
Oh.
It's on like season 5. I had never even
Fire
heard of this
Country.
show. Yeah, it's pretty wild. But that's what they said. They have to literally.
It's a lot of digging.
I'll say
Cutting shrubs and digging. And,
Yeah.
A lot of digging.
it's a lot.
Next project, time will tell. You know,
You got any ideas? Other than taking over Porsche's marketing department, which we'll do that together so we can split a salary.
Yeah, if anyone at Porsche can give me a call, I got a few ideas. Whether they want to hear them or not is a different story.
Semantics.
Yeah.
Those people who don't want to hear them will be all gone. We'll
Yeah.
just be talking to Andy.
Yeah, it'll just be a new marketing team that comes in.
Right, it'll be us and our people.
Revolve. I mean, I fell in love with Porsche 47 years ago. 47 years ago, I mean, it's kind of nuts. I mean, it's not like I'm falling out of love with Porsche cars. You know, there's the cars and the drive, and then there's the people are slightly different and separated from that.
You've told the story. Was it a post? It was a poster first, right? For you?
Yeah, I mean, I've told this story a few times. I can tell it again if you want.
Well,
you
if it's
know.
not long, I mean, was it it was a poster, wasn't it? That got you into him?
Yeah, I mean, what got me into him was 10-year-old, my dad took me to the London Old Court Motor Show in 1977. I'd been watching motorsports on TV. You know, like we had James Hunt, 1976, F1 World Champion. We had Barry Sheen, two-wheel Superbike champion. So I grew up watching motorsports. You know, I grew up sort of dreaming and lusting after Porsche. But the real catalyst to the story was 10-year-old me goes to the London Old Court Motor Show, 1977, came back with a program, a brochure, and I had the poster on the wall. And the car I saw was a White Martini Turbo. I wrote a letter to Porsche saying I want to design cars.
That's right.
And they
To which they replied.
They wrote me a letter back. And the crazy part to that story is when I first visited Porsche in 2013, I was taking a tour. They'd seen Urban Outlaw, invited me to go to visit them, and I went. Ironically, I ended up going on 9/11, September 11th, 9/11 was
Oh
the
my
day I went
gosh.
to visit
Wow,
Porsche,
wow.
unscripted, and I saw on some marketing guy's desk that people are still writing letters to Porsche. It was an email, it wasn't a letter, but yeah, they're still responding to that stuff. So that was kind of like, wow, that was me when I was 10 years old. So that still happens. And, you know, I'm a big believer in kids start dreaming at an early age, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, you know, carrying around a toy car, a Hot Wheels, a Corgi, whatever it may be, right? That's where that love affair starts. And whether you want to be a fireman, an astronaut, or whatever it is you want to do, it starts at an early age. Mm-hmm. And so my story was no different. So when I saw people still communicating with Porsche in that capacity via email, it was like, wow, it was nostalgic for me because that took me back to where I was.
It actually surprises me less that they're doing it now than that they actually replied to you 40 years ago. You know, these days it seems like there's a whole marketing, you know, social media team who responds to that stuff. But to actually get a letter back in the old days is so impressive to me.
I wish I'd kept the letter. I didn't. But after
Your mom doesn't have it?
Ironically, no, she doesn't. I mean, no, it wasn't in a scrapbook.
I mean, you
or
didn't live
anything.
at home at 7. Oh, that was 10. You were 10 when
I was
that
10,
happened.
so I
that
lived
does.
at home
Yeah,
until I
you
was
did.
19 when I left to come to America. Ironically, the second letter I ever got from Porsche was in reply to Tamir's film Urban Outlaw, came out October 15, 2012. Probably in January 2013, I got a letter from Porsche's marketing department, which I have framed on the wall behind my desk in the warehouse, basically saying, you know, how they'd seen the film and remembered my story that I told in the film with a twinkle in their eye type of thing. And
Is anybody still there from that time? How could they
no,
remember the
no
letter?
one's
Come
still
on.
there. No one's still there. They didn't catalog the letter, but they referenced me talking about it in the film.
There you go. Okay, I
that
gotcha.
was
I
what
gotcha.
they referenced.
Gotcha.
So that was the first invite out to visit Porsche in 2013. You know, and it was, for me, that was kind of a milestone.
Did they fly you
thing.
out?
No, they actually didn't. No,
Yeah.
I was in Europe. I mean, it's weird. Like last year, I turned down 3 trips with Porsche last year.
Okay.
I don't know if I told you. One of them was Le Mans.
Yeah.
Another one was, I guess it was a Macon launch. And the third one was some Cayenne thing in Atlanta. But, you know, Hannah and I got married. The Le Mans trip was too close to that. And, you know, it sounds exciting till you break it down. I don't know if you've gone to Le Mans, the 24-hour race. But
No, but I while it would be neat to say I went, I don't actually want to do that.
I mean,
It
is
sounds
there
like a
anything you want to
nightmare.
do for 24 hours?
Right.
Right?
Are
No.
you allowed to take naps if you're speculating?
Yeah, I mean,
Spectating.
you know, the 24-hour Le Mans, the way Porsche does it is you arrive on a Friday at lunchtime to the town of Le Mans, and you're on a plane out of Le Mans at 5 o'clock on a Sunday, whether they won or didn't win. And you're just kind of embedded in this team, camping out in the elements, and
I mean,
It's
that's
kind of cool,
incredible.
honestly. I mean, that makes it sound a little bit more.
it's cool until it rains, and you're sort of surrounded by.
But I'd rather be part of the race team than in the hospitality tent.
Well, you're not
Sometimes
part of.
those things
You're
are
not necessarily part of the race team. You're in the hospitality end of it.
supporting the race team.
With you're not embedded in the garage in the pits for 24 hours. You're
Okay.
sort of doing the
But you
track
can go
tour.
over there, right? You can go wherever you want, or no?
Yeah, you can. Le Mans is just tricky in the sense of it's really spread out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you've got every single access pass, there's always somewhere where you want to go, where you can't
Oh,
go.
jeez.
Obviously you can't get in the car, but so they still invite me to things. I guess I'm getting old. I'm more picky than I used to be.
Yeah, you're discerning.
Yeah,
It's discerning.
yeah.
Discerning.
Yeah,
Good thing. It's a
I
good
got to minimize wear and tear and stuff like that. So.
It's been almost an hour and a half. Is there anything that we have not talked about that was on your list?
I didn't have a list.
Really?
No, do I look
so-
like? Do I have
You
cute
look like a
cards
guy
in
with a
my
list.
pocket somewhere? Come on.
But I'm so happy that you came. I gave him a couple dates a couple weeks from now. I go, or I guess you could do this week if you want. And he goes, well, let's do that.
Let's do it
Fucking
tomorrow.
Great.
I'm all about cross it. Take care of it straight away.
Yeah.
I was going to say cross it off the list, but I don't have a
But he
list.
doesn't list, so
How's Hannah doing?
Hannah's good. Is good. She was just driving the new Aston Martin Vanquish.
I saw that.
Nice.
What'd she think?
She likes it more than I like it. Let's
Okay.
put it that way.
Yeah.
It's big. It's wide. It makes the Porsche seem really tiny.
Yep.
Weirdly, it's a lot of size and volume on the exterior, but yet not a lot on the interior. And I'm always griping about, I look at switches and go, this is like a plastic switch. This is a $500,000 car. Why has it got some plastic switch instead of some bespoke, hand-knurled in titanium switch, So, yeah, it's fast and all that stuff, but I look at it, the grill's too big, the nose is too long. The
I agree. The
back's too short
proportions
and
are
squatty.
cartoony on this one.
I go,
agree.
you know what I mean? This kind of looks like a Camaro meets a Mustang meets an Aston. And why is the grill literally the whole front of
whole
the
front,
car?
yeah.
Yikes.
And it's not a hybrid or anything where you need to
No, I mean, it's a V12. That's great. If it was a manual, it would be really great.
Hmm.
So anyway, Hannah's great. The Aston Martin,
Meh.
she thinks it's great. So.
I know what you mean about that. I don't want to knock Aston Martin because I actually like them, but we had the Vantage F1, whatever, as a press car for a little bit, and like everything broke on it. Like the door, the armrest broke off the door, the nav system, the whole infotainment system crapped out. She broke something off on her side. It was like when you said the switches were kind of flimsy. Clearly, the fit and finish was, I don't know. We weren't rough on it, and stuff was just falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want a 70s Aston V8 Vantage.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
But
I
they
support it.
become expensive.
Yeah.
What's the one that was like 80s? Kind of looks like a Mustang, and it was in the Timothy Dalton James Bond
There's
movie.
probably some variation of the
Oh,
V8 Vantage.
it was a Vantage as well. Yeah, I love that one too.
Yeah.
And that was a very unpopular one.
I mean, I'm all about affordability when it comes to cars, and this is why we're like in this Rolls Royce era, vintage Rolls Royce from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You can pick them up for like the price of a 924.
You guys have two, right? You each have his and hers?
We have three now.
Really?
Yeah,
You
So
picked
Willow
up another
has
one.
two.
picked up a third one.
All right.
Yeah, the third one is 85 Spur,
Oh, cool.
which
What
I
color?
run. It's like sort of a champagne gold color.
Yeah, that's
with
what I
a
expected.
chocolate brown interior,
Oh, that sounds pretty.
which I actually traded a 2004 996 and a couple of grand cash into, believe it or not.
The red one?
No, that's an Aero kit car.
Oh, okay.
That one's a keeper. I had four 996s. I had the infamous $5,000 996.
I was thinking about that.
The slate gray car, the Gen 2 2004. That's the car, probably 6-7 years ago. Guy reached out, hey, I know you're not looking for this because I was actually looking for a Gen 1 GT3, which is a car that you couldn't import into America. You can do it now. It's 25 years old.
Right.
But you couldn't do it 5 years ago, which is why I was sort of chasing a little bit an aero kit car because it looked like a GT3.
Right.
Anyway, I get an email from this guy. I know it's not what you're looking for, the email goes, but I'll practically give it to you. I go, so it's a 2004 manual slate gray 996 Gen 2. I go, what's practically giving it away? He goes, $5,000. I go, does it run? He goes, yeah. I go, okay, I'll buy it. And when I got it, I drove it up to Newcomb's once, and it actually ran pretty good. It had an exhaust on it being lowered, stiffened up, and it was a $5,000 car. But the funny part to the story, there's two funny parts. The first one was Hannah goes, how many miles are on it? I go, I don't know, it's $5,000.
Who gives a shit?
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Turned out it was like about 140,000.
Wow.
But anyway, that's the car that I ended up trading into the 85 Silver Spur with a couple of grand difference. So I'm in that car like under 10 grand.
That's pretty wild.
But you can buy them all day long for 15. I mean, just go and bring a trailer and look at Rolls Royces from the 70s and 80s. I mean, some of them are $5,000, but you buy one in the teens, you're probably going to be okay. The key is you got to keep driving them.
Yes.
They cannot sit.
Electrical?
Once they sit, it's electrical, hydraulic. It's, if you sit for more than a week, then you might be in trouble.
You almost have to daily it.
Yeah, but weirdly, they're kind of reliable because they're not, of that era, 60s, 70s, and 80s, they're not all controlled by computers like a Texas Instrument, which is obsolete, right? That's the problem, is obsolete technology. Mm-hmm. These are before computer-generated stuff. They're still running carburetors for the most part. So
I was on my way down someplace in Orange County. I think I was going to the Marconi Museum one day, and I passed you going to Orange County as well from downtown in the Rolls Royce. Do you remember that?
Which color? Which one?
The brown one.
The green one.
Green one. Is it green?
The first one we got was Hannah's, a 75, and that was also a trade. We traded a 560 SL and a couple of grand. True story. Back
you got
into
a pattern.
Rolls. Yeah. You got. I like wheeling and dealing. To me, it's like,
Yep.
you don't really get hurt when you're buying these cars in the teens.
Right.
And you get a lot of respect. No one looks at you like you're a douchebag in a vintage Rolls Royce.
Well, they want to offer you a Grey Poupon.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite is my own. My car, Hannah and I, we share the 85 Spur. Hers was the 75 Shadow long wheelbase. And then mine is the 69 Shadow Coupe, the two-door, the black one.
You're
Looks
right,
like
I think
Corniche.
it was the four-door. The green
two-door one is just so cool looking. It's 69. It's
the longer door, right?
Longer door. What happened there was Rolls-Royce would send those cars to four-door Shadows to Mulliner Park Ward, who'd convert them to two-door coupes.
Oh, no shit.
So from 67 to 71, Rolls-Royce made about 560 Shadow coupes, two-door, that were mostly done by Mulliner Park Ward, who was the coach builder. There was another coach builder, but majority of them were Mulliner Park Ward. In 71, for some reason, they just called them Corniches, and most Corniches are convertibles. Wow. So to see a Corniche coupe, i.e. hardtop, is kind of rare. But the car that I've got is a 69. Steve McQueen in the Thomas Crown Affair drives a 67 Shadow coupe, which ironically Joe Richardson has, a 67 Shadow
I love him
coupe.
too.
Yeah, great guy. Ferrari guy, right? But anyway, that's the Rolls-Royce story. So my advice is go get yourself a vintage Rolls.
I love it. So that's a good question. All right, Magnus advice. What's the car buying advice? Anything out there you think is hot right now?
Buy
vintage
what you
Rolls.
love. Buy what you love. For me, we're in a vintage Rolls-Royce era, but buy what you love. That's always my advice. Don't worry about it being an investment. First-time Porsche owners, my advice to them is just forget about trying to find the perfect car, right? Just get yourself behind, anything, whether it's a Boxster or a 924 or
You can look for the next one while you're in this one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key. So
Wheeling and dealing.
That's my advice.
I love you, man. I'm so grateful that
I love you, man.
you came by.
It's good to be here.
It's so great to see
Sounds
you.
like a TV show. I love you, man.
It was a movie. It was a movie. But I do love you, man.
Who was in the film I Love You, Man?
Oh, was it
Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
Oh, that's right.
Nicole used to work with him. Nicole opened that movie. I don't know if you know. Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Superbad.
With Russell Brand, though.
She worked with everybody. She worked with Russell Brand, Jason Segel, and Jonah Hill in Sarah Marshall. Sarah Marshall.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Interesting.
I would say saving Sarah Marshall. It's wrong. My Porsche story, PEC, loss and advice. Thank you for the advice. The house, Pininfarina, garage, TWR. We did everything on the card.
Did some homework.
We did everything on the card.
Good.
been a blast.
Did the list.
Talked about fire and rain. We got the
That's a
ACH and GVBC up in there. I mean, we literally
You've done your A to Z's right
we
there.
are really, really good. The flow really picks up. Sponsors, we need a new mixer. Somebody want to send us $600? That's what a new mixer is.
Go ahead and send us 7, though.
Let me ask you about the show. The show is now back on. You back up. We're rolling forward.
Yeah, we want to do something with it,
That's good.
Yeah, actually grow it. We were kind of...
This is good for you to fire the show back up.
I think so, too. I wasn't
How
sure
many
at
have you
first.
done of the new...
Whatever this is?
Yeah, whatever this
3,
is. Okay.
right? 3?
3.
It doesn't feel right yet. It's still... I mean, this was so natural because this is how we talk to one another.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel right yet.
No, I get it.
I wouldn't be here but for her. So now
Yeah.
she's not here. So why am I here? And then we did one of those shows where we ask everybody, what do you think? Should we still do it? What should it be?
Sure.
And unanimous, yes, keep doing it. And then
The show must go on.
It's whatever. Yeah, it's whatever the people want out of it from now. Because I'm not doing this for me. I'm not doing it for her anymore. So it's kind of like whatever you need. Let us know.
Here's my advice. As long as you enjoy doing it, you do it. When you don't enjoy doing it, you stop doing it.
Well, I think I don't know if I enjoy it in the moment, but I always feel better afterwards. It's kind of like a therapy.
Yeah.
Like
You
when we
dread
first
it,
got
and then
married-
you go, yeah, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
therapeutic doing the therapy.
That's it. You may not, or going to the gym or yoga or any of those
Yeah,
things. Like you don't
cold
want to go
plunge.
do it, but
Right.
But after you've done it, you feel better.
Right.
And that I do. That's happening.
So if you stop feeling better after the show,
Yeah.
then you don't do the show.
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
I guess it's just I'm an internal mess. So this is all like people are watching this get unraveled in real time or get re-raveled in real time.
There's no right and wrong here.
But you know what I mean, right? You
Yeah,
want
I
to
know-
be
I know
all.
what Well, WTF, I get it.
I know. All right.
All right.
And
Well,
then
you're really loving
Patreon.
it.
We're gonna have a meeting
We're
about
working on the
Patreon.
We're going to have a Patreon, let's say, in February. We'll have it set up.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And that's it, right? There's other stuff, but we'll just do it next week.
Next
And we'll
week we got
probably be
Johnny.
back at GVBC on Friday. Just look at the post on Thursday night to see.
Get up the hill, yeah.
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 Who's next on the show?
Johnny Lieberman's next.
Oh.
Thank you for that. And next Tuesday we'll be
got
back
you.
with Johnny
Next
Lieberman.
Tuesday.
That's what I'm here for.
Like you used to do. Johnny books himself. He's just like, hey man, I see it's back on. When can I come?
Yeah.
Johnny bucks himself. That's good to know.
You remember in the old days, if you had something going on, you're like, hey, what's going on with the pod? When can I come in?
Yeah.
So we had the routine down. Anyway,
That's
so
good.
yeah, it's a new routine. We're
New
figuring it
routine.
out.
I get it.
Thank you very, very much for watching. There's tons of comments. Did we get to this stuff? Oh, and I never
Yeah,
I'm sorry, YouTube.
it was a lot of internal conversation.
Sorry,
Yeah.
YouTube. I mean, Instagram.
Hey, it is what it is.
Too many goddamn things. There were a lot of people on here. I'm sorry I didn't see all these. Greetings. Greg Grunberg. What's up, Greg Grunberg? Love you, buddy.
Yeah, he does.
King of Pasadena. Rebecca drives has a 2024S. Okay, good for you. Very cool. Tom Magnus, if you could have Porsche build you one car from anything they did, street legal for the time, with the requirement that you had to drive at 2,000 miles a year, what would you pick? That is
2,000 miles
wild.
a year. A Beetle.
A Beetle?
Yeah, Beetle. There you go. They're all Beetles.
And then the same question for me. I mean, 2,000 miles a year is
Nothing.
compared to what we do.
Yeah, why
Anything.
2,000 miles a year?
Anything. If Porsche could build me, I mean, I'll say the ST just because I do.
The
That's
ST?
the new car,
The
and
new
I do
one?
love it. Yeah,
You love it. Have you driven it?
I haven't. The one day they brought it up Breakfast Club, I wasn't there.
You want my gripe on that?
Yeah, of course I do.
I drove it over a year ago, press drive. That's another example of. They should never have called it the ST.
Okay, okay.
First
go
of
ahead,
all-
go ahead.
first
I
of all-
agree with this. Go ahead.
Porsche never officially made an ST. It was part of the Sport Purpose catalog in 1970, where you take the T, the lightest touring body, and you put the S Performance in it. But you couldn't go into your dealership and buy an ST. You sort of
Right.
had to know the Motorsports Sport Purpose catalog. So the evolution into the ST was 67R, which they made 20, right? And 4 prototypes, and we all know that story. And that rolled into the 68 TR, and then that rolled into the 70 ST, which was available if you knew how to tick the boxes in various engine configurations. You know, some of them were carbureted, some were MFI, some were 2.5s. So, you know, everyone was different. No two were the same. You know, a lot of privateers ran them slightly more flared, but that was the evolution into the RS and the RSO.
Yep.
So Porsche had taken essentially what is the new ST, which is somewhere in between the GT3, the GT3 Touring, with a lightened flywheel and a smaller diameter clutch, and it's
Feels like the new
super
R to me.
revvy.
Feels like a 992R. No?
Yeah, for sure it does. But here's my gripe with it. Yet again, that 4-liter naturally aspirated power plant, which has no more power than it did in 2018, is the power plant in the ST. And the ST is not the racy version of the GT3 RS, but yeah, ironically, it's louder than the GT3 RS from a decibel level, because to make it seem faster, they made it lighter.
Right,
So
they yanked the insulation out.
insulation out, thinner glass. So it's really kind of rowdy, but below 4,000 RPM, it's kind of doggy. It makes all the power high up. Yes, it revs to 9,000 RPM, but how often do you get to 9,000 RPM? Very seldom can you keep your foot in it anywhere near that power band.
Even on the track.
The gear ratios are shorter to make it accelerate quicker. So fourth gear feels like you're in third. So you're constantly having to floor and rev the nuts off the thing, which is not always practical in stop-and-go traffic. Then factor in the light and flywheel, small diameter clutch. It's kind of, in a way, you have to slip the clutch a little bit. You got to give it a few more revs for it
Right.
not to drop quickly and sort of cut out on you. So it's a delicate balance. And yet again, it falls into me that category of similar to a GT3 RS. Kind of too racy for the street. And it's not a street car. It's a street
not a race car, right?
It's not a
Yeah.
race car.
That's interesting.
And it's expensive. It's like 300 grand.
It's very expensive if you can.
Even
get
get an
one.
allocation for
Yeah.
one. So, you know, they just need to do the GTST, the touring version of the GTS, and then you're fine. I joke.
Yeah.
Just get
Till we
yourself a
take over the
CT.
department.
Yeah. We were almost out of here.
I love it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching. I think I did all the stuff. We love you. Please love one another. How do we follow you? Magnus Walker on all this stuff?
You just follow me walking Willow. I'm going to go home and take Willow for a walk.
No, literally.
Yeah, literally.
Magnus
Come on.
Walker on everything. And
Yeah.
Arielle is,
At Arielle Zadok.
and Corey.
At Corey_Sabia.
Nice.
Babes and Classics, actually. I don't know why I gave that.
There you
one.
go.
Babes,
Babes
and
and
Classics.
Classics.
You all
Very
know
nice.
that.
Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Cheers.